Hello and welcome to a video recording of the blog post Start by Doing It Badly by myself, Oscar Styf. I hope you get some value out of it. Quote, okay, but in the real world Scrum doesn't work, end quote. This is perhaps one of the most commonly held beliefs I hear repeated in my classrooms. And I agree, kind of. Let me explain why. Scrum is a short word packed with meaning, rules, ideals, intent, and implications. So where do you start? I'll begin by explaining it in my own words. Scrum enables you to better generate value by providing a framework that helps you navigate those problems where you're either unsure what the end result will look like or how you'll solve it, often some combination of both. This is referred to as a complex problem. In a nutshell, the loop looks a bit like this. Step 1, a product owner orders the product backlog with the work that goes into it. Step 2, the Scrum team turns part of the product backlog into an increment of value in a month or less. Step 3, the Scrum team and the stakeholders inspect the results and discuss what they would like to see next. Back to step 1. And in the middle of all of this, the Scrum Master fosters an environment where the Scrum team can be effective. So what does the Scrum Guide have to say about it, seeing as it contains the literal definition of Scrum? Well, let's have a look. Scrum is simple. Try it as it is and determine if its philosophy, theory, and structure help to achieve goals and create value. The Scrum framework is purposefully incomplete, only defining the parts required to implement Scrum theory. Scrum is built upon by the collective intelligence of the people using it. Rather than provide people with detailed instructions, the rules of Scrum guide their relationships and interactions. Various processes, techniques, and methods can be employed within the framework. Scrum wraps around existing practices or renders them unnecessary. Scrum makes visible the relative efficacy of current management, environment, and work techniques so that improvements can be made. The Scrum Guide 2020. Now, if you weren't confused before, you probably are now. That is a lot to take in. And there's only one section out of the 13 pages that describes the Scrum framework and its various definitions and rules. And this is the part where I tell you that I have both good news and bad news. The bad news is that this blog post is not here to teach you Scrum. Well, not directly at least. The good news is that this blog post is here to teach you how to approach learning about Scrum by doing it badly. Wait, what? Okay, so that may be a little bit misleading. I'm not advocating for you to purposely try and do it badly. Scrum is, after all, simple. Rather, I'm inviting you to try Scrum, whilst also acknowledging that you're likely to be bad at it when you first start. Just like you probably wouldn't be able to maintain a sustained juggle the first time you picked up some balls, that's okay. Fail again, fail better. This is the foundation for being able to improve anything in life. Learn from what didn't go the way you wanted it to and try to do better next time. Rinse and repeat. The empirical process and its 3 pillars of transparency, inspection, and adaptation involves checking where you're at by doing something, seeing how you did compared to what you were trying to do, and devising and carrying out experiments, practicing, if you will, to try and get closer to your desired outcome. This is the process that Scrum is designed to take you through with its framework. And we'd be remiss if we did not apply this same process to our learning. Learning is, after all, a complex problem. So it's simple, really. Scrum, at its core, is simple. But simple does not mean easy. Exercising regularly and eating healthy is simple enough, but that doesn't mean it's easy to pass up comfort time for exercise time. The journey towards using Scrum as your new way of working requires not only your own effort, but the effort of everyone else in the team and perhaps even those around it. Now imagine if you decide to start doing yoga and only eating meat once a week, so that now the rest of your household and your neighbors also have to do it as well. That's definitely not an easy sell. The Scrum Guide also refers to an end state, or rather the state that is the Scrum framework. It even explicitly states, quote, "The Scrum framework, as outlined herein, is immutable. While implementing only parts of the Scrum framework is possible, the result is not Scrum." End quote. The Scrum Guide 2020, or rather paraphrase. I slightly altered it myself. What it does not tell you is how to get there. That is for each team and organization to figure out on their own, as the contextual needs for each will be different. And as the saying goes, context is king. So where does that leave us? Well, my assertion is that, initially at least, we'll have to do Scrum to the best of our abilities, whilst accepting that we are likely to fail. And that's okay. Well, the Scrum framework expects you to continue to learn how to improve even when you're doing Scrum as defined by the Scrum Guide. We do this by using the Sprint Retrospective, a regular event where the Scrum team gets together to inspect and adapt the processes by which to improve as a team. Once we've tried and failed to do Scrum, we can reflect on what we learned. If you're able to practice the Sprint Retrospective, that is the perfect place to do exactly that. If you're not there yet, then a one-off retrospective is better than none at all. This is the part where I'm afraid that you're on your own, because your own context will dictate what adaptations you will need in order to get closer to where you want to be. If you're really stuck, stick to the basics. 1. What worked, and how do we ensure we keep doing it? 2. What didn't work, and what needs to be true for it to work next time? And 3. What experiments will we run next? An experiment on the benefits of regular sessions where we try to improve, perhaps. Maybe we could even call it a sprint retrospective, if I may be so bold. Now all you have to do now is just repeat this cycle of proposing experiments, doing the work, and checking in to see how it did and what we can learn next. Simple, but not easy. And in my experience, certainly not quick. Every team and organization is different, but I would count on this taking at least a couple of weeks or even a few months before you start to really doing Scrum. Badly. Yeah, that's right. Even if you've done all of the above, including the rinse and repeat, you're probably still at the stage of doing Scrum badly. To be fair, until this point, you have likely not been doing Scrum at all. To reiterate, that's okay. In the same way that bouncing a ball around and not adhering to NBA rules means that you're not playing basketball, but rather just throwing a ball around. Both can be fun and valuable, but only one would allow you to play in the league. Now, at least now that you're doing Scrum badly, you will hopefully begin to see some positive changes in how your team and organization performs. The next step is to continue the experiment, learn and adapt cycle until you're doing Scrum okay. Eventually, you'll start doing Scrum well. And then one day, you may find something that works even better in your particular context than Scrum does. Or you may find that Scrum is not at all appropriate in your context. And that's a good thing. The point of Scrum is not to do Scrum. It's to generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. And again, that's a direct quote from the Scrum Guide 2020. Quote, ever tried, ever failed. No matter, try again, fail better. End quote. Samuel Beckett, Wordsworth Ho. So, some things to look out for then. If you're just starting your Scrum journey, the good news is that there have been many who have ventured down this path before you, and you can learn from their journeys. Context is still king, so while something that did or didn't work for others, doesn't mean that the same would hold true for you. So with that in mind, here are some general ideas that should help you on your way. As you read the Scrum Guide, it's easy to find yourself thinking of all the ways that it wouldn't work in your current environment. And although that is likely the case, the journey you face is made up of several moments of identifying and making the changes needing to improve. And as we know, every journey begins with a single step, and what better time to take that step than today? Different people have different needs. Some people around you will be excited about their journey and adapt quickly, and others will be highly reluctant. And again, that's okay. You'll need to be understanding and patient, whilst making any boundaries and expectations clear and holding people accountable accordingly. And there will be times where you have to take a step or 3 back before you can continue moving forward again. And if it wasn't already obvious, you'll make mistakes. A lot of mistakes. And that is absolutely fine. In conclusion then, why did I write this? Well, it's simple really. I want you to try Scrum. I want you to become an expert in wielding Scrum as a tool to help you better generate value. And I want you to feel like you have permission to try and permission to fail. To try again, to try better, and to fail better. To learn and to grow. End of post. Thank you so much for listening. Scrum on.